Welcome back here on JTV. Thank you to the Insurance Circle Agency. Lumen Christi, one of two teams left here in the state tournament for boys high school basketball. And the coach of the Lumen Christi Titans joining us now, Josh Tropea. Coach, good to have you on with us and appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you having me. It's a great show. I listen and follow, and you've had some great guests. Hopefully I can fill the shoes.
Well, only have had a couple other coaches on so far, so we'll see. But double overtime, we'll start here versus Hanover last Friday. Are you still trying to recover from that game and that environment? Because that was, I mean, no wonder they call it. At least the way Coach Birch put it was the Camden of the Cascades.
Yeah, what a great nickname. Even though I have a feeling they gave it to themselves. Hanover does love Hanover. There's no doubt about that. But what a great nickname. What a great environment. Incredible experience for the kids and both communities. It's one of those games that will be talked about, another 15 or 20 years, unless another one like that happens. About the one that played out 10 years ago with Kari Willis and Devin Edwards when they went over there and lost 10 years ago. And until Friday, that was the game everybody talked about. So hopefully this is the one they remember now. Crazy game. Obviously, we're up 5 at the end of regulation and find a way to let them come back and tie it. We're up 5 at the end of the first overtime and let them find a way to come back and tie it again. And then we're down 5 with 1:30 left. And find a way to win it in double overtime. So just a wild game.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what'd you tell your team? Because you guys were up by 5 in regulation, the end of first overtime, and then they came back twice, and then they had a 5-point lead. What'd you tell your guys to be able to keep it together, keep the composure, and do what you guys do?
Well, two things. I said, hey, they've done it to us twice. It's our turn. And then the other thing, one play at a time. There's no 5-point plays. Just get one basket, one stop, one basket, one stop. And, we'll see what happens. And I thought the kids did a good job of that. It started with a Luke Tropea layup with about 1:30 to go. Then Amarion Clay took a charge. Ashton Callan with a steal and a couple free throws. And then that Ashton step back 3 to kind of seal the deal. And, it was an incredible sequence.
And between that game and Stockbridge in the semifinal on Tuesday, you have a very good mix of, and we talked about this in the post-game interview from Friday, but you have the senior leaders like Luke and Timmy who know what it takes in March, but then you have also a good mix of the younger players, Ashton Callan and Broden Burgess and Amari and Clay, who they all contribute and they've all stepped up major.
Yeah, I think Tuesday at Ithaca was even a better example of that. And you're spot on. We have an incredible mix, and I think that's what makes us a dangerous and special team. But Tuesday was such a great example of that. Luke and Timmy get 2 fouls early in the second quarter. And if you'd have told me that before the game, I would have told you we're probably going to lose. I would have said, well, we're in trouble then. And I looked out there, and at one point in the second quarter, we had 2 freshmen, Ashton Callan and Broden Burgess, 2 sophomores, Zach Tropea and Wes Learn, and 1 senior, Cash Callagher, who didn't play basketball last year. And that was our lineup for like the last 3 minutes of the second quarter. It was wild. Yet those kids were able to get us to halftime tied. And we felt like we were stealing at that point. We were just hoping to get halftime within distance. And that was a tie game at half. And all those guys stepped up. Cash stepped up. And and then in the second half, I think we scored the last 10 of the game to win by 3. I think we were down 7 with like 3 to go. You probably know the details even better than I do.
Yeah, down by 7, I believe, with 2.5 left, and then Amarian had his back-to-back threes, and then 5 points from Timmy Crowley. So I think Adam also, you had a couple questions for Coach too.
Yeah, well, I was just curious. There's no question that Lumen Christi, there's a lot of expectations coaching there, especially with their history of being very competitive. When you became head coach, did you feel like that you had like those expectations real quick to create a really good team and start competing for a championship?
Well, that's a great question. No, because they had been so bad for so long. To be honest with you, I hate to be like that. They were great a long time ago, and the Mike Ramker era, the Dan Crowley era, and then they had really struggled. And then when Kari was there, they had a nice 3-year run when they were really good for 3 years, but that ended in 2015, and really, since then there has not been a winning season. There's not a lot of success. They did win one district title. Tyler Aldridge won one at Manchester, but that was without Hanover and teams like that in it. And so, they had really struggled. So, no, I did not feel that. It's to go along those lines, though, it is funny because there's one of the things that I've always believed in that does conflict with the Lumen athletic motto, and I do struggle with it just because I'm an educator and a teacher and I've coached so many other places, but I feel like you should celebrate every victory. Every win should be celebrated. Life is too short not to celebrate your wins, ugly ones, blowouts, whatever it is. And anytime you win a trophy, it's special. We got a chance to win back-to-back regionals tonight. It'll be the first time since 1987. Only the 6th time in school history. And so that's a big deal. But sometimes at Lumen, we get lost in the weeds where we only count state titles. And that's really cool if you're football or the golf team or things like that. But there's, I've been doing this a long time. There's only 4 divisions in basketball. It's really hard to win. And so anytime you win a championship, you got to celebrate that. And we certainly will celebrate it if we're lucky enough to do it tonight.
Right, and both of the boys teams in our area, of course, besides you guys, and then Concord in Division 4, if they're able to pull it off, it'll be their first since 1990, so it could be 2 very historic games for both teams tonight. So,
yeah,
that'd be great.
And then, I know you said that one thing that you kind of want to change was that celebrating these wins, like you said. Is there anything else that you could see that maybe either you took influence from maybe the philosophies of previous coaches, or do you think you kind of came in here and just completely changed how Lumen Christi basketball was?
No, that's another great question. No, I think I blended it. I definitely have brought the idea that we are going to celebrate all these wins, whether it's a district semifinal, a district final, and the kids have embraced that. And why wouldn't they? They're teenagers. These are a big deal to them. Every one of these are, and that's how it should be. But then on the other hand, I lean heavily on people like Herb Brogan and Mike Ramker and Dan Crowley, and obviously Tyler's my assistant, and he was an incredible player there. And so I lean on all these guys that have all this great experience and are Lumen alum that they help guide me and to make sure that we're doing things the right way, that we're doing things the way that Lumen wants them done. And again, the tradition, the success, the integrity, all those things about Lumen Christi make it special. And Sean Brogan is another person. He's not a head coach right now, but Sean obviously leads green and gold, and he's the assistant football coach and assistant principal. And I like his saying the best. He goes, when people come to Lumen, you don't change Lumen. Lumen changes you. And it's such a great saying. And it's so true. So no, I certainly didn't change the way we look at things. I'd like to say that I added to the basketball program that we are going to celebrate all these wins. Of course, the goal is the state championship. Of course it is. But we're still going to have some fun and enjoy these wins along the way.
Right, for sure. So, of course, this interview's airing after tonight's regional final, but I wanted to touch really quick on Ovid Elsie. We talked after the Tuesday semi against Stockbridge that Ovid's it's going to be a very different game than what Stockbridge was because Stockbridge had a much larger size advantage in the post and down low than you guys did. But Ovid has more smaller guards, more stack built. So that could be something in your guys' favor more than some of the advantages that Stockbridge had on Tuesday.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a very, very different matchup and game and the style. They're much more like we are size-wise. They have, obviously they're thicker like we are, but they don't have great height. They have explosive guards like we do. They got, 4 seniors. They have great leadership, all those things. And they play tight tough, man-to-man, aggressive in the passing lanes. They don't zone, so that's completely different than what we saw on Tuesday. They will press if they're losing, but otherwise they're traditionally a half-court, in-your-face, man-to-man team, very similar to us. We're the same way. We don't press unless we need to at the end, and we're going to play a man-to-man unless we're in foul trouble. And so we expect it. We're looking more like looking in the mirror than like when we were playing Stockbridge, which couldn't have been more different than us.
So really quick here, I know we have a couple minutes left and want to get to the All-Star games, but I wanted to ask if you wanted to just make any comments here on the show. I know somebody you used to co-host the Coach Speak with, Matt Seidel, and then, of course, Derek as well, but Matt, who former Olivet coach, for those that don't know, and now the AD at Pinckney, and some of his comments this year that have been very 50-50, I would say. He uses the hashtag club versus community and separating the private and public schools into their own divisions and saying that just by playing and being at a private school, just, essentially by being there, they already have 2-3 times the advantage in almost all the sports. So as a teacher and an educator yourself, and a coach, of course, at Lumen, I just wanted to ask if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. I would say that I think I have great perspective because I've been on both sides of it. I was the Chelsea coach and Milan coach when I got knocked out of district finals. I had two really good teams, one at Chelsea and one at Milan, that lost in district finals to Father Gabriel Richard out of Ann Arbor. And when we lost those games, I was disappointed, and I hugged my kids, my seniors that were crying in that locker room, and those things. But I never once did I leave the locker room feeling I was cheated or at a disadvantage because I played a Catholic school. That was just the team that was on the schedule. You lined up, you played them, you did your best, and obviously you hope to win. But never once did it ever cross my mind like, oh wow, what an advantage they had, what a disadvantage I'm at, And so that's Matt's opinion. That's fine. I do like reading the tweets. I actually, I agree with some things he says. I don't agree with a lot. I think it's more how his lack of tact is really the issue. I think that people have. The model he presents. With the information from Ohio, I really haven't sat down and had time to watch that look at it. I've been busy coaching, but it does sound interesting and intriguing because it does involve public schools and private schools. It looks more, I guess, where your students are coming from. I just think it's interesting. He has an opinion, and he's an old coach, so people are going to listen. And he was a great coach and a mentor of mine, actually, in the basketball world. I learned a lot from him as a basketball coach. I don't think there's any harm with what he's doing. I think he's bringing attention to something he feels is important. And there are some people that definitely agree with him. I just think there's way more important issues right now that we need to fix than that one. The seeding of regionals, the fact that Stockbridge and Lumen Christi drove to Ithaca to play a game, instead of, drove by 50 high schools on our way there. Yeah. I think there's a lot of other things we need to fix in high school basketball right now that I think are more important. But I mean, if it's important to him, that's okay. And he's an educated man. He's intelligent. He's smart. He knows the game of basketball. If he feels like this is an important topic, and he wants to bring attention to it, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As long as he doesn't target teenagers, as long as he stays away from that, I don't think there's anything wrong with what he's doing.
Right. So really quick here before we go, of course, the second year coming up on Tuesday the 19th at Spring Arbor for the high school All-Star basketball games. First year we're having a girls game at 6 p.m. and then the boys will follow after that. What can fans and what can people expect and look forward to from these All-Star games coming up?
Yeah, I mean, so we almost have all the answers on commitments. We've got a really good commitment level from both boys and girls this year. We're really excited that we're going to have a girls game. It didn't come together last year because we had so many softball players. So we targeted this early start, hoping kids would be more willing to play in the games, so they're not in the state playoffs for softball and baseball and things like that. And it's really worked out that way. And I think what you're going to see is a really fast-paced game. You're going to see a lot of great players in the area. I mean, quite honestly, girls basketball in the area is much better than boys basketball. For the percentage of girls basketball players that are going to play college is much higher. So it's great that we're going to have a girls game. And that we're going to play 6-minute quarters instead of 8 because they're not in great basketball shape after their season. So the games will go a little bit faster. The girls' game will tip at 6 and the boys at 7. It'll be a chance to see a lot of great seniors again and honor them one more time. And I thought the game was great last year. It was well attended. There was a lot of excitement around it. And immediately after the game, people were like, you got to do this again. And then we started getting a lot of texts and calls from girls, coaches saying, we will make this happen this year. Please get us on the schedule.
For sure. Well, Ovid coming up tonight. That is at Ithaca, 7 p.m. Thursday. And then, so of course, want to wish you and your team good luck the rest of the tournament run. And I know we'll be following along right there with you guys. So appreciate you taking the time with us today on the show. And good luck the rest of the way. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hopefully we'll see it over tonight.
Yep, absolutely. Lumen Christi coach there on the show, Josh Tropea. We'll be right back here on JTV after this.